A new year, a new session for the incoming Boston City Council, though many of the issues that most concern Bostonians are not new, and they'd like the council's attention.
Affordable housing, and we'd love to see some more initiatives by the City Council and the Mayor to help build and preserve more affordable housing in the city.
Maybe safety a little bit more, considering the issues with domestic terrorism. Maybe making the city a little bit more safer.
Maybe the T.
The T.
Yeah, have it work more efficiently.
The homeless situation in Copley Square, there's really not an easy answer, but someone's got to take a hard look at that, I think.
A lot of funds have been misappropriated. There's no employment, no training, no GED council.
I come out for walks at like 11, 12 at night, and there's people sleeping in the craziest places.
Yeah.
And they need to do something.
There is the decline of value of love among people.
Time for the OTR Political Roundtable conversation. Our analysts this weekend are Marianne Marsh on the Democratic side and Republican analyst Ginny Buckingham. Did your mother ever call you Virginia Buckingham when you were...
Virginia Beth Buckingham when I was in trouble.
Edward Charles was the same thing. I tucked it went the other way. I know what you're talking about.
Thank goodness I grew up in a Chinese household. You heard Michelle Wu this morning, but let's look at this realistically. How much power does the Boston City Council really have as the president?
Well, I mean, the mayor runs Boston and the city council's along for the ride, and rarely does anyone move up. But many people think Michelle Wu has a very bright future in front of her. We'll see if she can capitalize upon it.
Ginny?
They set the tone, they send an image about the city of Boston that can be very important.
And I suspect that there's going to be a better relationship between the council this year and the mayor than there has traditionally been in the past.
Let's talk about the T. The Baker administration is now talking about T fare hikes as much as 10%. With the latest news of exorbitant overtime, and they say, have yet to say they have their prices under control. Are they being realistic about these increases, Virginia?
So, Virginia Beth, I think that they have to do two things at once, which they are doing. Reforms, getting it under control management-wise, and making smart investments. As long as they do both and the voters see that, I think they're going to be okay.
Well, the problem is, I mean, people who ride the T are paying for a service they're not getting now. So if they saw some improvement, they might accept a raise, but they want to see some improvement where the problem is an exception, not an everyday occurrence where you have to build in an extra hour because it's going to break down.
Everybody talks about optics in politics, just the optics of this. The governor cannot shed the T, can he? I mean, it's just there, and it's whatever.
Welcome to the NFL.
Nor should he. Yeah. I mean, in truth, it's a core service that the state government offers, and he has to get it right.
Right.
Gun control. Front and center at the White House this past week was Mayor Marty Walsh when President Obama was signing his executive order on gun control. What's the political takeaway from all of this? Is there a political takeaway, Ginny?
Yes, I think it's an exclamation point on the complete failure of Washington, D.C., the complete failure of leadership of our president to do something that matters. What he did would not have stopped one of the mass shootings we've had in recent years. It's a real shame.
That's not true. It's the Republicans in Congress who promise always to do something, and they don't. Marty Walsh, the only elected official in this country that I know of who's a victim of gun violence, has been shot by a gun, and he's actually chairing this effort to work with the president to get gun control done, but the Republicans in Congress won't do it.
It's the president's job to convince them to do it.
Republicans said they would do something in mental health, and they didn't in December.
And he's failed.
No, the Republicans in Congress, when they promised to do something on mental illness, once again in December, voted it down. Good for him for getting something done, because something beats nothing in this case.
So Commissioner Bratton was on the radio last week, and in response he said, minimal impact. He's the head of the police in New York City, one of the most dangerous cities in the country.
If one person gets stopped from buying a gun because they are mentally ill or have a criminal record or are on a terrorist watch list, that's worth it.
Don't cry and pretend that it's going to stop Newtown, because it is not.
It could have stopped that kid. Period. That kid who shot those little kids in Sandy Hook could have been stopped because of his mental illness.
Let's talk about the Baker-Polito administration. They've raised a collective $4 million last year in anticipation of re-election, which is how many years down the road? It's still 3 years away. Are they, Marianne, are they being unnecessarily paranoid?
Well, it's smart. I mean, I'd be paranoid too if I outspent my last opponent 10-1 and only won by 40,000 votes. So they're trying to scare off any opponents, and they're trying to make sure they shape the field. Not bad.
And?
It's a show of strength. You know, Blue Massachusetts, he's the most popular governor in the country, and this is the result.
Let's move to New Hampshire. The primary is now a month away. Donald Trump looks fairly solid, but the number 2 slot is still up for grabs between Ted Cruz, Marco Rubio, Chris Christie, John Kasich, and even Jeb Bush. Who's your money on right now?
It doesn't matter. Trump's going to win. He's going to be the nominee. Who's ever second? It might be Rubio. It might be Christie. But who cares? They're not going to go anywhere. You get a string of second and third places, and you're not going to be the nominee.
So that's the Democratic fantasy.
That's my long-time position.
Your long-time fantasy.
No.
That Hillary Clinton gets to face Donald Trump. It's not going to happen.
Hard.
He's going to win New Hampshire, which I've said for a long time. But it's about who comes in second, third, fourth. I think it's probably going to be a mix, and maybe Rubio, maybe Christie shows some strength. In the recent poll that came out last week.
Why is it going to be about that? Why is there?
You're hearing the establishment.
Because ultimately, our party is not going to nominate Donald Trump as its nominee.
Ginny's
You
the
say
one
that.
on a suicide mission. We want to beat
You
Hillary
have
Clinton.
no ability to stop it. This is the end of the Republican establishment, of which you are a part of, Ginny, even though we all know that
I'm
and
not
love
quite sure
you.
who's dreaming here. One of them is.
I stick to facts.
Did Trump have an issue about honestly suggesting that Ted Cruz cannot be president of the United States because he was born physically in Canada?
Well, he's a bipartisan birther, so I give him credit for that. And nothing would be more ironic than to see the Republicans fall apart over the birther issue against one of their own, Ted Cruz.
Where was Hillary Clinton born? That's what I want to hear next. I mean, the guy is off his rocker.
Illinois is where she was born.
Right.
Donald Trump was born in Queens.
Pennsylvania, actually, Pennsylvania.
Was it
Sorry about that.
Pennsylvania?
Yes,
I always thought it was Illinois, Marcia. You know, it's just an interesting conversation. When John McCain says we should look into it, it's interesting.
Well, he didn't renounce his dual citizenship till 18 months ago.
We're taking a break. We'll be right back.